Hey everyone, so before we get into today's video, I just want to give a shout out to someone very special. Today is my grandfather's 90th birthday. Can we sing happy birthday? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Poppy. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Hope you have a wonderful birthday. Can you say happy birthday? Birthday, Poppy, we love you. Give a kiss. Mwah! Hey everyone, so it's officially fall. I can't wait to kick off all these fall tutorials with you. So we're gonna start off with learning how to paint a pumpkin. Not the ghost yet. Okay, so to start, I'm going to go through all my materials. I have my Arches watercolor paper, I have my Winsor Newton Cotman watercolors, and my Princeton snap brushes. I have a size 10 and a size 2, and my water and my paper towel, and we're ready to go. So first, I would like to apologize if I do sniffle at all or clear my throat. It is because my allergies are in full bloom. We're back in that season, so I just want to apologize. But besides that, I think we're ready to start. So we're gonna be painting a pumpkin today. Pumpkins are one of my all-time favorite things to paint outside of flowers because I love the fall. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take a very light wash of an orange. So right now I have some burnt umber in here, I have some orange, and I have some red. But I'm just gonna take a very light wash of it. And the first thing you're gonna do is a long oval, like so, okay? And you're just gonna fill it in with that light wash. You can even leave a little bit of like white areas too that will act as highlights, okay? So that's the first step. And then you are going to do a C curve. You're gonna go just slightly above that oval, and you're gonna do a C curve, and it's gonna end right slightly above the bottom of this, okay? So it's just shifted upwards a little bit. And you don't have to leave a white space, but if you'd like to leave a white space right there, you can. And you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So make sure this first wash is very light because this is gonna act as the highlight. So you're just doing the same thing on the other side, slightly above, fill it in. Okay, I'm leaving a little bit of white space. It doesn't matter if you do or not, like that. So that's another section of the pumpkin. And then you're gonna do the same thing one more time, slightly above, and then come down slightly above that one. Okay, just a C curve. And it doesn't have to be a perfect C curve either because pumpkins come in all shapes and sizes. They have bumps and lumps. So don't worry about that. Okay. Okie dokie. So there we go. We have our general shape of our pumpkin. Now you're just gonna draw a quick little stem, an outline of a stem, just so we know not to paint in that area until later, okay? So we're leaving that area white and just drawing a little quick stem, and then maybe filling in a bit of orange behind, like it's another bump, okay? Another section of that pumpkin. Okay, so now we're gonna go back in with some darker color. But first, just make sure that each of these areas are still wet. If you're using lower quality paper, it will dry faster. So you're just gonna wanna go over these sections again with some water. So when you do the color bleeds with darker color, they will bleed out nicely because if they are dry, they will just be a layer on top. Okay, so now you're gonna go back in with some more color. I'm gonna take my orange. It's a pretty bright orange, cadmium orange. And I'm just gonna go around the edges of each of these sections, leaving it a little bit darker at the top and the bottom, okay? Then you're just gonna go on this side, like that. You're just going around the edges. So when you think of a pumpkin, it has these little sections, right? It curves in and out, in and out. So the parts that go in are the darkest parts because there's shadow there. And the parts that are sticking out, so these lighter areas, would be hit by the light the most. So they're gonna remain lighter. Okay, so we're just gonna keep doing this and trying to get these shadow areas darker. Okay, I mean, if it's too light in the middle there and it looks a bit weird, you can bring that color down. You do want to leave some lightness towards the middle of each section, but you do want to make it darker. So I'm going to take some burnt umber, which is just brown, mix it with my orange. And it's going to also be darkest at the bottom too, because that's where the least light will be hitting. So I'm just going to keep, you know, bringing some lines down with this darker color to define that, those sections. But also I'm making it a wet on wet technique, so it's not super sharp lines. You don't want super sharp lines. You want it to kind of blend out. Might bring some up. I'm just gonna take a bit of color off of that and just blend it out a bit, because we don't want it to be too sharp. Okay, and if you do want it more orange, you can add more orange in there. I like kind of like a rusty pumpkin color. Okay. Again, adding a bit more darkness towards the top and the bottom. So I'm just adding a bit of brown in there. Same with down here. And I might go in again with a bit more brown. So you can see when I just did that, it's a bit sharper of a line. It's still really wet, but I'm just not using as much water and paint on my paper. So you're getting that smaller line. If you have a lot of water and paint, it will bleed out like crazy, right? So you just want a small amount just to get those smaller lines. Like so. Like this. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to wait for it to dry, and then we're going to come back and add a bit more detail. I'm just trying to blend it out a bit more. Okay. Okay, so our first layer is completely dry. Now, if you find that it's a bit faded and not as vibrant as you like, maybe you'd like a very vibrant orange pumpkin, you can do that whole first layer again on top of this one to make it darker. Okay. I'll actually show you how to do that. So let's make it a bit more orange. So I'm just going to take my orange, again, a light wash, and we're just going to go over the whole pumpkin. Because we are using so much water for this pumpkin, you may want to tape your paper down because it will warp. Mine has already warped through drying it. So when I dry my paintings for the tutorials, I always use my heat tool, this thing, which just speeds up the heating or the drying process. It's not necessary, you don't have to have one, but I just like it because it makes it faster, but it will warp your paper a bit more. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You may want to tape it down, which doesn't always completely fix it, but it can help a bit. Okay, so I've completely wet the whole thing. I'm just making sure all the areas are wet. And then you just kind of go over those same lines again, and it'll just make the colors more vibrant. Okay, so you wet the whole thing so you get those bleeds, but you don't go back in the middles. You still want those light middles, the highlights in the pumpkin. So you're just trying to make it a bit brighter. You know what? You can even add some like green too. Maybe the pumpkin hasn't fully turned yet. Just add a bit of sap green towards the top. You don't have to do that. I like a bit of color. I like those more rustic looking, excuse me, pumpkins. Okay. Excuse my throat. Okay, and I'm just gonna go back in again with some darker lines. That's a bit much. It's all good though. Oops. Okay. Okay, and that just makes it a bit brighter, but it's totally up to you. So I'm gonna come back when this is dry. Okay, so as you see, it is darker than our first layer that we did. So it's totally up to you if you want to do a second layer and make it brighter and darker. It still turns out really well if you just do that one layer. So just keep that in mind. But now it is completely dry. So let's do the stem. So I'm just going to take some burnt umber, a bit of black. I'm going to first do a really light wash of the brown. Just going to fill in this area. Then I'm going to go back in, darken it up. And you're just going to see where these lines are, where it shows each section of the pumpkin. You're just going to have the stem kind of coming out in a star form like that around each of those sections, okay? Because if you look at a pumpkin stem, it connects to all those sections. Like that. Okay, so now we're gonna add a bit more detail. We are gonna add sharper lines to each of these sections. So you want them nice and dark, but I suggest using a really small brush or the tip with the least amount of pressure of your bigger brush, because you want really light or really thin lines. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, so I'm just gonna, it's a bit too dark. And you're just gonna kind of go along the side, the lines of each section. Like that. Just darkest along the bottom and the top. So that's why I'm adding darker color right here. Okay, and then you can wash it off a bit, or you can even grab your orange color again and just drag it. Very light pressure, like so. Yeah, I suggest using just the same kind of brown orange color through the middle, and that dark brown at the bottom and the top. Okay. Like so. Okay, I'm going to take that dark brown again. Just have it darker at the top. Okay, like that. Now you can end there if you like. If you'd like to add a bit more shadow and a bit more detail, I will show you how to do that. So I'm just going to take a different brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bit more of brown on this color and wet it, and I'm going to go along the sides here. So it's wet right now. And then I'm going to wash off my brush so it's clean water, and I'm just going to blend it out. And it just adds a bit more darkness in those lines, a bit more shadow. Okay, and the reason why you wash off your brush is so you have clear water close to the middle, so you maintain that shadow, or that highlight, sorry. So it's darker on the edge. Quickly clean off your brush and then blend it out. Try to make sure there's not too much water and make sure that first layer is dry. Okay, you're doing this on dry. So it just adds a bit more depth to that section. Okay, same thing. That's a bit too brown. So make it's nice and wet. Wash it off, clean water, blend it out immediately. Okay, if you leave it too long, it's gonna leave a harsh line. It's nice and wet. Wash it off, blend it out. Okay. Wash it off, blend it out. That one left a bit more of a dark line, so I'm just gonna try and blend it out a bit more. Clean off my brush, really lighten it up. That seems to be, there we go. And then the last section over here, it's pretty dark. Quickly wash it off, blend it out. Okay, you don't want those dark lines. And you can do the same thing towards the top of these two. Blend it out. Okay, and that's just an extra little detail that you can add if you like. It may take a bit of practice, so don't get too hard on yourself if it doesn't turn out perfectly first couple times. I'm gonna tell you, or I can't even tell you how many pumpkins I've painted in the last couple days. Funny story, I painted pumpkins like these last year. They turned out really, really nicely. I tried to paint them this year. I totally forgot how I did it. So I had to literally paint like 10, 15 pumpkins to figure out how I got those shadows last year. I don't know how I just did it, but this year I just couldn't figure it out. So I had to do it a bunch of times. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't work out the first time or the second time. Just keep trying, okay? And there you go. There is your beautiful pumpkin. Now you can also do different colors of pumpkins. I really like gray pumpkins. This is for our next tutorial, but this color, I will show you in my next tutorial how to get this color. But yeah, I find those gray pumpkins really, really beautiful. You know, you could do more blue pumpkins, green pumpkins, anything. You could add more green, different colors into it. But that's basically how you do it. So add whatever color you need to and just have lots of fun with it.
Thank you all so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram for more. Have a great day, guys. Bye!